2019 surplus being applied as a rebate. You got an update for that?
Yeah, sure I do. Back when we got our year end from 2019, we were told there's about a $2.9 million surplus.
Okay, that's a lot, eh?
That's great news.
It is great news.
We're constantly finding efficiencies. Our staff are working hard to find better ways to do things. So, there's a surplus there. So we asked our staff, council did, to find out what that would involve if we wanted to rebate our residents.
Okay.
So what would that mean as a tax rebate? 2.9 is about 3% of a tax levy.
Okay.
So 2.9 million is about 3%. So if we increase taxes 3% and we wanted to give a rebate on that 3%, it would be about that much money. So we asked staff to do we don't have that back yet and where we're going with it and how much it's going to be. But overall, for an update, what I've heard from most residents and most of our council has heard from residents is that they would much prefer, rather than that $40 or $50 rebate, that's just a line item on their tax bill.
Right, because they're not actually getting physical money in their hands,
They're not getting a cash rebate.
Right.
They're just getting a credit, off of an increase that they're going to get regardless.
Okay.
So what we've been hearing from a lot of residents and from council right across the board is that residents feel that would be better used as in a recovery reserve for our pandemic.
Okay.
Or put it into capital projects, roads and downtowns that we need to do to keep up. So just been a good response from our residents. So we'll see what council wants to do when we get that report back. But, we'll figure that out when we get some more information. But I don't have an update for you at this point on that. But hearing from a lot of people that we think we should just use it, not knowing what's ahead of us, let's just keep that for now, and then we can make some decisions when we know better what's ahead of us.
Perfect. Broadband funding from the province and feds.
Yeah, great news story. We've been banging away on the province and the feds, as you know, through EORN and the OWC, the GIG project, 550,000 homes in Eastern Ontario that we want to bring at least a gig of broadband capacity to. It's about 96% of all the homes and businesses in Eastern Ontario, so it's an ambitious target. The province recently announced money for broadband, new money for broadband, and the Fed shortly after announced it as well for a total of like $750 million that can be applied to broadband. In different areas of the province. So we're just working through the details. There are some challenges with the way the grants. You get all these different levels of government trying to work together, and it's never easy. EORN has a great track record of what we've done in the past. We've done this before. We can do it again. So we're just working with the federal government and the province and some of their experts. There's a lot of technical, lingo that goes along with broadband that not everybody can sort of grasp, the capacity issues around broadband and some of the challenges. So our staff at EORN are working hard with the different levels of government to great news that they've committed that broadband is a priority. We've been saying that, they're listening. So we're looking forward over the next little while to, figuring out how we can tap into some of that funding and get started on this project. It's an ambitious project, but it's important.
Is it something that you think residents can say, or think to themselves, okay, I think this is going to happen this time?
I do. I do. I really do. You know what? It's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
I mean, this is the scope of what needs to be done. We'll need to, again, different levels of government. Things don't happen fast, but we also recognize that with the needs in the pandemic has exposed the need for education, medical, people working from home, kids doing their schooling at home. Some of the rural areas, it's a really uneven balance. I mean, I've talked to mayors in Northern Ontario that have to drive 50 miles to get on a Zoom call because, we talk about not having good broadband down here. Well, in some areas in Northern Ontario, they still have dial-up or they don't have any broadband. And, so it's leveling it, trying to level it across the province. We're going to focus on Eastern Ontario because that's our area. But you can imagine the scope of the challenge, trying to work that through. And I mean, the new program they're bringing forward with satellites will be part of that, but it won't get us where we need to be. We need to run wire to majority of businesses and homes, and then the ones that are left, in remote areas, we can fill in the gaps with that satellite coverage over the years. So it's going to be a little bit while to roll out. People are going to have to be patient.
Yeah.
The good news is this ambitious solution should be good for the next 10 or 15 years. It's
Okay.
not a stopgap.
Okay.
It's a real solution to the problem that should do us in the long term.
Good times. Because I feel
Well-
kind of spoiled whenever I talk about broadband. Like I kind of don't know what it's like unless I go, camping or go to someone's cottage. I don't feel that pain. So I couldn't imagine having to deal with that on a daily basis for a long time.
It's such a part of our lives now, right? I mean, it's not just Netflix anymore.
No,
right?
exactly.
Watch
It's
a movie.
business, it's school,
It is.
it's everything.
It's business, and people, coming out of Toronto that want to, moving to their cottages or want to do business up here because they don't, they don't want to be in the GTA anymore. Again, from the pandemic. They got to be able to run. You can be on a good broadband. You can have a worldwide business.
What's up with the city's regulation of cannabis?
So you go from broadband to cannabis. That's just
Two
the
of my
question.
favorite topics. No,
Two
I'm
of your
just
favorite
kidding.
topics. We're having some issues with people, grow ops, not just us, but other communities as well. Cannabis is legal. You can get a federal license to grow cannabis. You have to grow it under certain conditions, but we as a municipality don't get a lot of say in a lot of those conditions. So there are some things we can do. So legally, we're looking at increasing our fines, through a bylaw. If you're not following the rules, we've confiscated quite a few plants over the last 6 months from several different areas that are growing it and claim they're growing it legally and they're not.
Right.
So now we want to work on a zoning bylaw, consolidated zoning bylaw that allows for zoning control. You have to be zoned a certain area to be able to grow cannabis.
Okay.
So, and apply just a little bit more control so we're not just sort of sitting at the end saying, hey, we assume that that's a legal grow op, right? I mean, it's a legal business, it's a legal industry, and we welcome any legal business in the community, but there has to be some controls to make sure that other people aren't taking advantage of it. And right now, other people are starting to take advantage of it. So. And you got lighting issues and you've got smell. So there's just some controls we need to put on it to make it palatable for those neighbors as well.
Let's talk about the drive test centers.
Yes.
Can the municipality do anything about people from out of town coming up, or is this 100% the province?
It really is the province. It's a provincial service, the drive test, and people have been coming here, whether you agree with it or not, to take their drive test for over 30 years.
Right. Yeah.
It's an easier test up here.
I
know people from here that go to Minden to get their drive test because it's an easier test up there, or Bancroft, right?
Yeah.
So I think everybody's been doing it for a while, just trying to, where can I go where it's easiest to get my test? Some of the concerns, and legitimately so, with the pandemic are people coming here from, a red zone
or a gray zone now.
A gray, orange, yellow. Are they coming here, and should they be, right? And the answer is no, they shouldn't be. I mean, they've been told under certain areas that essential travel only.
Right, yep.
There's probably a bigger wait time in a Toronto drive center than there is here. But all we can do is recommend, right? The province puts out these guidelines. It's not a law. It's we can't prevent people from getting in their car and driving to another area. This is a provincial service, and they're obligated to serve the province. So you can go to any drive test center in Ontario and do your drive test. Same as a hospital. If you go to Ottawa to visit one day and you don't feel well, you can go to the Ottawa hospital. You don't have to come back, to your local hospital. So these are what provincial services are, and we just need to make sure from business perspective, and they need to make sure that, we're doing what we need to do. We can't control what other people do. We need to focus on, the drive test center has the proper protocols in place. The mall that's attached to it has the proper protocols in place. It shouldn't be an issue. I understand people are concerned, and I have relayed those concerns on to our MPP. But at the end of the day, the province is not planning on limiting that right now. So we're just going to have to make sure that the proper protocols are in place, that they're being followed, and if somebody suspects that they're not, they should be calling the police or bylaw or the health unit to enforce it and make sure that they are.